G'day and welcome to the second video on the cross method. You'll need to watch the first video to understand the things that I'm doing, but in the second video I'm going to look at example 3 and 4. This time we're going to add some negatives into the equation just to see what happens. So I've got here x squared minus x minus 6. Okay, so again I put my big cross in the middle and I've got x and x. Now these numbers here go a little bit harder because I've got to think about negative 6. So one of the things that I multiply up here needs to be positive, and one of them needs to be negative. So for example, I could be negative 2 and 3, or 6 and negative 1, or all of the different combinations that I could do. Okay, and as I said before, it really is trial and error to see which ones you're able to do. I'm gonna think about this, and I'm gonna say, well, I'm gonna try negative 2 and positive 3 to see what I get. 3 times x is 3x. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. Add those two together. Oh, I get positive x. Okay. Now what that means is that instead of getting, I got the positive x instead of the negative x, which is actually disappointing, but not too bad, because what it means is I just need to change this one to a positive and this one to a negative. And that will mean that when I do this, that's positive there, that's negative there, and this one will end up being negative x like that. Okay, so actually it has worked out pretty well for me. So I'm going to get rid of all of that there because we don't need that anymore. In the exam it doesn't really matter whether you've left it there, but I just like some tidy notes here. So that becomes circle the top, circle the bottom. That becomes x plus 2. And this one here is x minus 3. You'll notice before, if there's no negative sign, I use a default positive sign. But if the negative sign's there, then obviously I have to put that in. Okay, x plus 2, x minus 3. And it doesn't matter which order you put them in, because 3 times 4 is the same as 4 times 3. That's just an example. This one multiplied by this one is the same as this one multiplied by this one. Okay, so let's have a go at the next question. Okay. X and x. Now here's something that I want you to notice. This number here is a positive, but these two numbers this number here is negative, which means that these two numbers here could be positive, but I'm going to suggest that they need to be negative, because when you add them together, this negative plus this negative will give us a negative value. If they were both positive, these numbers here, you'd get a positive plus a positive and it wouldn't work. Okay, so you need to do a negative and a negative. Okay, so if this here is positive, that one and that one's negative, these two need to be negative. Now 12, I'm thinking about negative 7, so I'm going to say that this one is going to be negative 3 times by negative 4. Okay, because x times negative 4 is negative 4x, x times negative 3 is negative 3x, add them both together and you get negative 7x, and it works. So therefore I grab the top, I grab the bottom, and I end up getting x minus 3, x minus 4. Okay, so there's when there's some negatives in play, that's what needs to happen. Okay, let me show you the next two, equation 5 and equation 6. So again, I put my cross down. I've got x and I've got x. Now 4. Okay, now 4. There's not too many combinations. 2 and 2, 4 and 1, and all the negative answers of that as well. But in this case, it can't be negative because I end up with a positive answer. So these both have to be positive numbers to get to the answer. Now in this case, I'm actually going to see that is 2 and 2. So I've got x plus 2 multiplied by x plus 2, or x plus 2 squared. Either of those two answers are acceptable. There's no right answer. Each of those mean exactly the same thing. So I've got x squared plus 2 all squared. Now the next one, before we go about trying to do anything for this, the first thing I do in all of this stuff is I look for highest common factors. Okay, and in this case I've got a 2 here, an 8 here, and 8 here, so 2 will go into each of them. Now, generally speaking, in this topic for this semester, you will not get questions when this number here is bigger than a 1. All the previous ones, it's always been 1x squared out the front. Okay, this question, it's 2x squared out the front. You won't get any questions that have a number bigger than 1 unless you can take out a common factor. So if you do get a number that's bigger than 1, then you take out the common factor. So this becomes 2x squared plus 4x plus 4. Okay, now we can kind of ignore that 2 for a little bit. All it means is that when you get down the bottom here and you get your answer, you're going to have a 2 out the front of the 2 brackets, like that. Okay, so we can sort of ignore it for the moment, but it will come back in a little bit later. Now notice here I've got x squared plus 4x plus 4, which is exactly the same thing as I had in question 5. And I've sort of done that deliberately so I don't have to do the question again. So I know that x squared plus 4x plus 4, as I've done here, factorizes into x plus 2, x plus 2. So I can actually short circuit all of the working on this one and actually say that the answer will be 2x plus 2 squared, or 2x plus 2 x plus 2. Okay, I don't need those anymore. So hopefully you've been able to understand all of these questions on the cross method. In the next video I'll show you a slightly different method to work out the same sort of thing. So thanks for watching.